How about them Cardinals?
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals. Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. I mean, what the hell was that? That was as close to a perfect game as you could play for the team as currently constructed as the Arizona Cardinals. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Cardinals win. Cardinals win. Cardinals win. And even if they had lost, let me just say it this way. Even if they had lost and they played the way that they did, massive win. The fact that they had control of this entire game from kickoff through last second kneel down shows that every week this team has gotten better and they finally put it together. And all it took was 2 full games before this one. It is absolutely borderline unbelievable that Jonathan Gannon, Drew Petzing, and Nick Rallis have got the Cardinals here this quickly. And yes, it's one game. Long season, long future. But sweet mother, what did we just watch? Cardinals fans deserve this. Joshua Dobbs deserves this. James Conner deserves this. That defense deserves this. And I'll go through the numbers. I'll go through all this stuff. We just watched the game. This is the instant reaction show that I have. I didn't want to wait till Monday to post it out, so I wanted to get the content out for you guys now. Ain't nobody tanking in the desert. That's pretty much the biggest takeaway that I had. Cardinals win 28-16, 400 total yards. I'm going to go into Drew Petzing and Nick Rallis and their complete control over their side of the ball. Jonathan Gannon having this team poised, mature, level-headed, well-balanced, whatever, thesaurus words you want to use for the same word. This is an adult big boy football team, and it happened seemingly overnight. For those that think that Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim weren't the issue before, I feel like that's sewn away at this point. Monty Ossenfort set him up. Jonathan Gannon has knocked it down. And again, one win. They're still 1-2. They could arguably be 3-0 at this point. Thinking big picture right now is more fun because when you see teams struggling that are a couple years down the road in their process of rebuilding or retooling, whatever you want to call it, the Cardinals are at the infancy stages. They don't have their starting quarterback. Half of their team is hurt now. They lost Byron Murphy and Zach Allen and DeAndre Hopkins. They don't have a bona fide wide receiver one, a dictionary definition of on this roster. Hollywood Brown's fringe. Played like it today. Joshua Dobbs couldn't start anywhere. He was traded to this team less than 2 months ago. So what the Cardinals did for 4 full quarters today was a masterclass. And it starts with the coaching. It starts with the preparation. And it starts with the mindset that you can go into any game and win. And it is obvious that even though Jonathan Gannon took a lot of crap for you take a bus or drive a car to practice, quote, a couple weeks ago, this stage is not too big for him. This team is entirely bought in, and they're playing like it. It is such a stark contrast from what we've seen over the last handful of years to now. It's not even close. And Cardinals fans deserve this. You deserve this. These small victories infused with actually winning a game, you deserve this. Media members, I'll take it. It's more fun to talk about things like this than having to, have a negative stance on things, negative slant on things. Cardinals win 28-16. This game, aside from the moment, and I feel like you all will think we're going to be in synchronicity here. When Dak took that 3rd and 13 and got the first down on the scramble where Victor Dimukeje had him in the backfield and let him slip out, got the first down, you're like, oh no. Oh no. This is where it happens. Because that's what we've been, conditioned to think. It's not if, it's when. And especially this season for the first 2 weeks, they were the better team on the field for the majority of the time in Washington. Majority's loose. They were 100% the better team on the field in the first half against the Giants, and it wasn't close. And they were the best team on the field today from second one to the final second without their starting quarterback, without any real skill position players on defense of note that have been Pro Bowlers. I mean, Budda Baker's been out. Jalen Thompson played great. Kyzir White is really instilling himself as the heartbeat in the middle of his defense, and Zaven Collins in a more traditional role for him on the edge is balling out. Marco Wilson, Catrell Clark is playing out of his mind for the role that he should be having right now. Injuries, not a lot of talent. Garrett Williams hasn't been back. This team, it's working. And it's not about win-loss. It was today. But I say this a lot, and it's not consolations. It's not a consolation prize. It's not a green ribbon. It's nothing like that. Growth, positive movement, and the culture building that was necessary to pivot away from the dysfunction of years past is not directly correlated to how many games they win and lose this year. It's not. Yes, Mon, Dennis Gardeck, absolutely. Dennis Gardeck is becoming a household name. He's very good. He's the perfect example. He's like the spirit animal of this Arizona Cardinals team. Always overlooked, and they have been, I guess, in small sample size because the season just started. But they're just dogs. This is a team you can root for. And that's not to say it's not fair. The 2021 team was really fun, started, 7-0, 10-2. This still feels different by eons. It's not if, it's when. And that happened in 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022 in varying degrees. This is not a small sample size now. This is, since the removal of the past regime, everything has moved in a positive direction. And you just hope that it continues throughout this season and beyond. Drew Petzing and Nick Rallis both deserve their flowers. I'm going to give them a segment next as we roll on here on a live post-game reaction show. Didn't want to wait till Monday. Too much to say. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Please go to the YouTube channel. Hit like, hit subscribe. Turn notifications on so you'll know whenever you can see my big dumb face talking about the Cardinals. Coming up next, Drew Petzing and Nick Rallis under a microscope. A good one this time. Locked on Cardinals. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by LinkedIn. All right. LinkedIn and I have a relationship. I was going to say intimate, but that'd be weird. That's not true. I've used LinkedIn a lot for jobs in the past. Very happy with where I've landed. And it's every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business, and you want to be 100% certain you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right candidates that you want to talk to faster. They have simple tools like screening questions that make it super easy to focus on the candidates who, have the right skills and experiences, so you can quickly prioritize who you would like to interview and hire. And it's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one, delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Terms and conditions apply. Cardinals win 28-16. I mean, for those who aren't huge fans of the Cowboys, it makes it a little extra sweet, but I don't really adhere to that. Jerry Jones has built a hell of a, I don't know, spectacle, whatever you want to call it. They haven't won a whole lot recently, but the Arizona Cardinals haven't either, so you can't really use that backhanded compliment. 28-16, let's go over some stats real quick. Josh Dobbs, 17-21, 189 and a touchdown, had that 40-plus yard run. Incredible play call by Drew Petzing early in the game. Shook everybody in the stadium, watching at home, and obviously all the 11 defenders wearing Cowboys uniforms out of their shoes early in the game. It just shows a vision that hasn't been here, at least for the last 4 years. It's just different. It's an NFL-style offense, which sounds obvious that it's supposed to be, but it hasn't been for the last 4 seasons. James Conner, 12 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Feels like he touched the ball a lot more than that. This is where you want James Conner to be, okay? Maybe not 12, maybe more than that, but he had 23 rushes, I believe, last week. You don't want that. If you want him to be impactful throughout the year, closer to this than to 23 touches, so you can have him withstand the toughness of playing 17 games. Michael Wilson had his first big catch and run today on a broken play. Kind of reminded me of the Rondale Moore catch against Minnesota last year. Rondale Moore ended up scoring. Michael Wilson got inside the 10. Marquise Brown had that touchdown that clinched it for the Cardinals. Rondale Moore, that 40-plus yard touchdown run. And I'll get to the defense in a second. Drew Petzing has this offense like the back of his hand. He knows what his tools are, and he knows which players on the Cardinals can utilize him the best. And Josh Dobbs didn't turn the ball over. The Cardinals won the turnover battle. And how can you improve upon what happened today? I mean, obviously the offensive line broke down in the second half. The front seven of the Cowboys is really good. That defense is really good, even without Trayvon Diggs, who tore his ACL, which was, very sad, obviously, for all football fans. Drew Petzing has a vision. He has a game plan, and he makes adjustments on the fly. All I kept thinking, and this is nothing against Joshua Dobbs at all. He's played great for 5-6 out of the 8 quarters that the Cardinals have had home games. Imagine this offense with Kyler Murray. Just think about it. It is going to be, especially if the offensive line holds up. Paris Johnson had a couple tough spots today. I mean, Micah Parsons is really good. He had one holding penalty that was accepted, one holding penalty that was declined. He's a rookie. This was his toughest test by far. I thought he did a pretty good job. They weren't living in the backfield. I mean, Joshua Dobbs wasn't having tea parties back there, like I like to call it, but the offensive line played fine. And the offense as a whole worked like a well-oiled machine in synchronicity. So if you bring Kyler Murray back, the offensive line strengthens. Jalti Froholt seems to be a vision as a plug-and-play, playing center. Will Hernandez had a tough day. Elijah Wilkerson was replaced. I don't think he got hurt, left guard. And DJ Humphries played fine. Putting Kyler Murray with this offense is going to be special. So you give Drew Petzing his flowers. You give him key to the castle. This is the beauty of having a defensive-minded head coach, regardless of what Steve Keim thinks. And you just give the offensive guy the keys. Go get him, kid. Go get him. And we saw, aside from the three-man weave in the backfield, which was a trick play wrapped inside a trick play. It's like those presents that are the big ones, and then there's a smaller one, and then smaller, like the Russian doll situation. That's kind of what that trick play looked like. Didn't work, but the balance the 12 personnel, getting Zach Ertz and Trey McBride involved. Trey McBride wasn't involved as much. Zach Ertz is old faithful here in this offense, which I'm assuming Trey McBride at some point, Drew Petzing sticks around, will, supplant him. The receivers got looks. Rondale Moore had 4 catches for 8 yards, which is weird. All in all, the offense just looked competent against statistically the best defense we may have ever seen in the NFL through 2 weeks. They gave 10 points the first 2 weeks. Cardinals put up more than that in the first half. And just before I move over to Nick Rallis, because Nick Rallis has the tougher test. He's got much less talent on the defensive side of the ball, at least, substantiated talent. Budda Baker out. Jalen Thompson's great. Marco Wilson had that almost pass interference, but it was perfectly timed, so he didn't have to turn around and look for the ball because it just went off his helmet. Kentrell Clark looks fine. He looks like a rookie playing in the NFL. 6th round pick, looks to be a steal if he plays in the nickel or in the or in the slot. Like, before pivoting over to the defense here, this is great. And it's not even about the win. The win makes it sweeter. The Cardinals played competently with cohesion and like a team that is the Arizona Cardinals in name only. I've coined it Arizona Cardinals 2.0. Sounds dumb. It's true. This is a different organization. With Michael Bidwell as the owner, yeah, there are some hurdles. For those that haven't heard this analogy that I use, when you go to a wedding and there's inclement weather and you're outside and you're in a big-ass tent, and it's everything. It's like you're inside, but it's just a monster tent. Monty Ossenfort down in this roster, in this organization. Monty Ossenfort down to the coaches, down to the players, are in that wedding tent inside of State Farm Stadium, unobstructed by Michael Bidwell. And that's how it needs to stay. You can build a competent organization with an incompetent owner, with a dysfunctional owner. Because at some point, Michael Bidwell is going to understand he needs to change. And, obviously this is irrespective of the bad stuff that he's done to employees, allegedly, all those things, whatever it is. Like, this is a football podcast. Keep it a football podcast unless I absolutely can't. Michael Bidwell has done everything football-wise that he needed to do in an effort to pivot this organization away from dysfunction. So far. And all you can do is grade him on what he's done so far. And football-wise, it's kind of batting 1,000. And you see it on the field. Functionality. Not scared of the moment. And Joshua Dobbs hadn't started any meaningful snaps. He started 2 games in Tennessee down the stretch, which was wild. But he looks poised. He looks like you could win 6 or 7 games with him. He does. And yes, I was wrong. Clayton Tune should not be starting if Joshua Dobbs looks this good. I know. I don't want to upset people, but I was wrong. Nick Rallis. This defense has teeth. Bringing over Kyzir White was probably the most undervalued, underappreciated, overlooked move. 2 years, no money, in the grand scheme. And he is just an absolute machine in the middle of the field. He's what you wanted Isaiah Simmons to be. He's what you wanted Isaiah Simmons to be. And he's taken over. He knows the defense, obviously, coming over from Philly. It allows Zaven Collins and Cam Thomas and Victor Dimukeje to race off the edge, which allows the inferior cornerback room to be able to be more opportunistic and cover better because they're not having to cover for 5-6 seconds. So it's a split-second thing. If you can get in the backfield in a second and a half or 2 seconds, it makes the cornerback's job easier. And that's what they've been doing. Kyzir White hits really hard. He had the game-clinching interception. And Nick Rallis has their blood coursing faster and with more passion. That's a stupid analogy. Than we've seen anytime from Vance Joseph. Maybe since Ray Orton? That's not fair. That's not fair. Since Todd Bowles, that's not fair. This defense is unfazed. The Cardinals were on the field today for like 23 minutes. You make the most out of your opportunities when you're out there. You force 3 and outs. You force uncomfortable situations. You force, 4th and 6s and 4th and 3s that the Cowboys went for. Like, this was, I don't know who had a better day. Nick Rallis or Drew Petzing. Pretty good damn problem to have. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. How important is this win in the grand scheme of things? And I'm not overstating a week 3 win in a season the Cardinals may win less than 5 games without their starting quarterback. I'm not overstating this. I'm not jumping to, champagne and butterflies after 1 win. And it's also not nothing. And that's the distinction I'd like to discuss as we roll on here. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by DoorDash. The is because I love DoorDash, because I'm lazy sometimes. I'm going to order DoorDash right after this damn podcast. I don't have to go anywhere. Not all restaurants deliver. And in this specific instance, I just got back into town, so I'm going to be ordering my groceries. Need fresh groceries for the week, but don't have time to go to the store. Try grocery delivery from DoorDash. You get everything you want delivered when you need it right to your door. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order, with easy substitutions right in the app and best in-class customer service and support. DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order, up to $20 when you use code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout. Limited time offer. Terms do apply. That's 50% off, up to $20. No minimum subtotal and delivery and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKEDONNFL. Don't forget, that's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 off your first order with DoorDash. Final segment. Nice little Sunday. It's a nice little Sunday. Josh Dobbs looked composed. The offensive line was fine against one of the best fronts in football. James Conner looked spry in his 12 carries. Fantastic. It's pretty much like a day off for James Conner. The holes were gaping, if I can say that, on the left side of the line, especially when he's running the ball. I said this on last Thursday or Friday's podcast. Who is going to lead this team with Budda Baker out? Who is going to be the on-the-field, vocal leader and lead by example guy infused into one? I said James Conner. James Conner has ingratiated himself into the organization, the fan base, the community. He is now an Arizona Cardinal, a true, unadulterated, regardless of where he came from, Arizona Cardinal. I've talked a lot about during this journey for the Cardinals with Steve Keim that it's hard to build a culture and family and team when you're a transplant team, because you can't draft, so you have to bring in players from other teams, other organizations, and kind of makeshift a roster. And I've said that there are very few Arizona Cardinals on this roster. Drafted, matured, grew, second contract on the team. DJ Humphries, Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, Kyler Murray. Any others? Dennis Gardeck. And there are guys like Zach Ertz and James Conner who came in and who immediately just became entwined into this team and into the family. Both of those guys, quote unquote, Arizona Cardinals. James Conner proved it again today. Leader on the field, emotional. He looks fantastic. And he has no guaranteed money after this season. They need to extend him, team friendly. Like, they need to figure out how they can keep him for a couple more years. Not giving him $25 million over 3 years. Let's not get crazy. But James Conner needs to pivot into that LeGarrette Blount role for the Arizona Cardinals until he retires. He's perfect. He is perfect. And if you use him properly and don't overindulge on the carries, he's going to be a team he can be a Pro Bowl, especially with this improved offensive line. How important is this win? It's massive for the rebuilding process. Just because the Cardinals win today doesn't mean they're not going to get a top 3 pick. Would you rather be the Chicago Bears right now or the Arizona Cardinals? Would you rather be the Carolina Panthers right now or the Arizona Cardinals? There are a lot of bad teams in the NFL with no real clear direction on what's next. I did tweet this out. It's funny, like the Bears have the Panthers' first pick next year because, they traded back. Panthers traded up to get Bryce Young. Huge mistake. I don't know why CJ Stroud didn't go number 1 overall. I don't understand the math on that. But they have the Bears pick, their own, and the Panthers pick, which is going to be bad also. Which looks worse or which has more draft capital possibility as pertaining to being higher in the draft? The Bears with theirs and the Panthers, or the Cardinals with the Cardinals and the Texans? I think the Cardinals and the Texans are in the back seat at this point. And I know we're only through 3 weeks. This win was massive because the game plan was set. It was executed. There were no mistakes as pertaining to turnovers. And they got a win with this roster against that opponent, with all of America, all of the NFL watching, because the broadcast pivoted away from Kansas City and Chicago when Kansas City was up 41-3 in the fourth, and all of America watched the Arizona Cardinals and Dallas Cowboys. If there's a better recruiting tool for the future for the Arizona Cardinals, I don't know what it is. Probably winning more games, but in a vacuum like this, there are very few situations the Cardinals could have found themselves in today that would have benefited them more positively for the future. And that, my friends, everydayers, Locked On Cardinals, is the biggest win the Cardinals could have come out with today. This win is massive for now just because of they needed a win. This is the Lifetime Achievement Award from the first 3 weeks after being so close in week 1 and week 2. They got a win against the biggest spectacle. I'm not going to call them winning franchise. The biggest spectacle in football, America's team, quote unquote, barf. In the afternoon slate, when every single Fox Television TV had eyes on them. That's a win. That is a bleeping win. Thank you for hanging out. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. I mean, I'm not, commanding you. I might do this Twitter Spaces again next week. Send me a DM on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. I don't do it for follows. I don't care if you follow me. If you have any questions, you want to talk about the game, whatever, this is your podcast as much as it is mine. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I will talk to you on Tuesday.